guys, and welcome to this video. So I apologize for being kind of a hot mess right now. I've been cleaning all day and I'm breaking out, but I feel like we're friends now and I can kind of be on camera like this with you guys because you guys have just been so amazing. So obviously this is a first impression video, which is why I have no makeup on covering any of this goodness going on right now. And I'm going to be testing the new concealer and foundation by Neutrogena. It's the Neutrogena Hydro Boost Hydrating Tint and Neutrogena Hydro Boost Hydrating Concealer. And I know a lot of you guys are probably thinking, why in the world would you do that? You're oily, you don't need anything that says hydrating in the title. And I hear you, and that's why it's taken me this long to test it. But lately with this weather, my skin has had some dry patches and even oily skin needs to be hydrated. So let's go ahead and start with the foundation. I got mine in the shade 40, which is shade Nude. It has a really cool applicator. It's a big doe foot applicator. I think it's really interesting and unique, but I prefer pumps just because I think it's a lot more sanitary. And overall, I think the packaging is really nice and high-end looking. That said, this is kind of a high-end price. At Walgreens, it's $17.99, even though on Neutrogena's website, I think it's $14.99. So this is a pretty pricey foundation, so I'm definitely going to be keeping that in mind as I test it. So before we get into it, let's go ahead and read the claims. I'm just going to read right here off of the back. So it says, works to refresh and dry thirsty skin for 24 hours with hydrating hyaluronic acid, weightless water gel formula that applies flawlessly for smooth, natural finish. And it's oil-free, which is great, and non-comedogenic, which means it will not clog pores. So that is enough of my rambling. Let's go ahead and get into it. As always, I am not going to be wearing a primer to give it a fair test. And on one side of my face, I'm going to be using my trusty Real Techniques Complexion sponge. And on the other side, I'm going to use a Morphe M439 brush just to see if there's a difference between the two in terms of finish. Okay, so I'm just going to apply this straight from the tube. Right off the bat, it feels really cooling on my skin. It feels really nice. Okay, so I feel like that blended out really nicely. It looks just healthy and glowy right now. I like the way that it's making my skin look. It's not completely covering my blemishes, but it's also not highlighting them. I would say it's a light coverage. So yeah, I feel like my skin is glowing on this side and it looks a little bit dull on this side. So I do think it's plumped my skin and moisturized it. Overall, with the sponge application, I'm impressed. So let's go ahead and do the other side with the brush. Okay, so that is this side done with the brush. I noticed almost no difference in the application with the sponge and the brush. If anything, the brush has a tiny bit more coverage, but it's really not anything noticeable. It is very tacky to the touch, so I'm definitely gonna need to set my whole face with a powder, but it feels really nice on the skin. Like I said, it's definitely a light coverage. This isn't something that's covering all of the blemishes I've got going on right now, but for a normal skin day, I can see this being perfect. The only other thing I noticed right off the bat is that the foundation is a little bit too light for me. I feel like it's already oxidized a little bit and gotten darker, but it feels like it's getting darker with more of a pink undertone rather than the kind of yellow undertone which I need. It's not a perfect match with my skin. Okay, so let's move on to the concealer. So again, nice packaging, not as nice as the foundation just because it's got this kind of plasticky top. I got mine in the shade Light, which is shade 20, so we'll see if this one's actually light, unlike the CoverGirl one that we just tried. So let's go ahead and read the claims off of the back of the packaging. It says, unique hydrating core designed to instantly quench skin with purified hyaluronic acid, non-greasy, lightweight formula, glides onto the skin, providing a silky smooth, natural looking coverage. Flawlessly masks imperfections without a cakey finish, and blends effortlessly to hide dark circles for a fresh look all day. So let's go ahead and test this out. So it's not providing a ton of coverage. I can still kind of see my dark circles. It's not a full coverage concealer by any means, but I wasn't expecting that with a hydrating concealer. It's not highlighting my dry patches as much as other concealers have been, so that's impressive. And I do feel like this shade is actually light and a really good skin match for me for brightening my under eye. So I'm gonna finish the rest of my makeup and I will be right back. So I just finished the rest of my makeup. Like I said, I did set my whole face because it was a very tacky feeling and it doesn't say anything about keeping me matte or lasting power, so I wanted to go ahead and set it to prolong how long it would last on my oily skin. And I have to tell you guys, you have no idea how much I am hoping I don't look like a giant grease ball at the end of the day today, because I love the way this foundation looks on my skin right now. The setting powder really mattified the look of the foundation but still kept it looking like skin, and my bronzer blended on my skin super easily on top of the foundation, and I just really like the way that it looks. I went and sat by a window doing the rest of my makeup, and that is the true test. Let me just tell you, if you want to know what you really look like, go sit by natural sunlight. But my skin really looked like my skin. I am hoping that I don't come back here in 8 hours saying that I look horrible, because I really like it and I really want it to work. But there's only one way to find out, so I'm going to wear this throughout the day and come check back in with you guys later. Fingers crossed. And I'm a grease ball, but what can you do? That's just who I am. I can't say that I'm surprised. I get oily even when I'm wearing a mattifying foundation, so wearing a hydrating foundation, this is kind of what I expected, but I was just hoping somehow I would just magically stay matte and hydrated throughout the day. A girl can dream. So like I said, I'm definitely very oily through my T-zone. You guys can see here around my T-zone is super oily. My chin is shiny. My forehead, as usual, very shiny. Again, on this side, my cheeks feel fine. They don't feel oily. Okay, so let's now talk about this concealer. It's definitely worn off a lot. You can kind of see the blueness of my dark circles peeking through. There's a little bit of mascara transfer. It's not very noticeable at all because this mascara really doesn't transfer, but it's happening a little bit with this concealer. I do not feel like the coverage held up at all with the concealer, though I do think my under eyes are looking really hydrated, which is a plus. So let's talk final thoughts, starting with the foundation. So I kind of really like this foundation. Shockingly, I know I'm sitting here a grease ball telling you I really like this foundation, but I like that it is so focused on the skin. I feel like this would be really good for sensitive skin because it does have the hyaluronic acid in it. It's oil free, it's good to the skin. It's almost like a skincare item and a makeup at the same time, which I really like. I also am, like I said, really impressed by the lasting power of it. Even with as oily as I got, my makeup didn't start breaking up, it didn't start looking patchy or cakey, and that is hard to do on this oily skin. I really liked the way that it felt when I was applying it. It felt really lightweight, it made me look really glowy, it felt really cooling on the skin. It kind of felt like I was applying a moisturizer rather than a foundation or tinted moisturizer. And the last thing that I'll say that I really like about this is the coverage. I feel like this level of coverage is really hard to find. Whenever I try kind of tinted moisturizers or BB creams, they're a very sheer coverage and it's kind of evening out the skin tone, but mostly a very sheer coverage, and they don't last throughout the day. Or you got a foundation, which are usually more medium to full coverage. This is a perfect light coverage, so it's not sheer, it's not medium. It gives you the evening of the skin tone, it lasts, but it doesn't look like you're wearing a foundation. It looks like just your skin. So it's like a tinted moisturizer with more coverage. Now onto the things that I don't like so much. Obviously I got really greasy, really oily, not a good look, but I think when I wear this again, I will try and blot and manage the oil and see if that helps. I'm definitely gonna give this another try, but obviously if you're oily like me, this is going to happen if you don't kind of touch up and blot throughout the day, which I know can be a pain, and it's sometimes easier to just find a mattifying foundation. The second thing that I didn't really like as I was applying is the doe foot applicator. I felt like I was having to kind of dip back in, apply to my face, dip back in. I don't mind doe foot applicators on concealers because you're not applying a whole lot of product, so one swipe is all you really need. And whenever I apply to blemishes or anything, I put it on the back of my hand and then apply, just for sanitary reasons. and with this I feel like it would take forever to apply it to the back of your hand and then apply it to your face. So keeping this kind of sanitary and bacteria free would definitely be a concern of mine. And then the second thing I'm not so crazy about is the price point. I mean, this is $15 to $18 depending on where you're buying it, and that is a really high price point for a drugstore foundation. I do give them credit that this is a high quality formula that's going to be good to your skin, but it's still not really a drugstore price. So I'm kind of disappointed with the price point. Definitely don't go to Walgreens to buy this. I would recommend trying Target. I think I saw they were $15 there as well. And then the last thing is obviously the color isn't perfect for me and it did oxidize. So right when you apply it, it's not going to be that same color at the end of the day, which can be kind of frustrating when you're trying to find a good match. Okay, so onto the concealer. I really did like the fact that this didn't accentuate the dryness underneath my eyes. I feel like it didn't cling to any dry patches. It definitely feels moisturizing. I can tell that it's a moisturizing concealer. Things I didn't like so much, I don't feel like this is nearly enough coverage for a concealer, but if you're one of those really lucky people that barely have anything to hide underneath your eyes, or just want something super lightweight to give you a little bit of brightness, this would be a great option. But if you're looking for coverage, I wouldn't recommend this. And I also don't think it's very long lasting. It had a lot better coverage when I used it right when I put it on, and I feel like it wore off throughout the day. And then lastly, the price point. This is $12.99, so it's only about $1 less than the foundation, and I think the foundation is a lot better of a product. So overall, if you don't like a dewy finish, steer clear of this no matter what skin type you have. If you have super dry skin, I would be cautious with this because it wasn't as thin as I thought it was going to be. So if you have patchy dry spots all over your face, I don't know that this is going to solve that problem. But if you have kind of dry to kind of oily skin, especially if you have normal skin, I would definitely give this a try, especially if you can find it on sale. Then for the concealer, I would pass on this for the price point unless you have barely anything to hide and super dry under eyes. So that's going to be it for this video. I really hope that you guys found this helpful. Let me know if you have any questions down in the comments below, or if any of you guys have tried these products. I would love to hear your thoughts. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, and click the like button if you enjoyed this, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.